Have you ever felt like your senses are, well, tuned to a frequency that other people just can't seem to hear? Today, we're going to explore what it really means to be a high-resolution sensor living in a low-resolution world. And more importantly, how you can start building your very own sensory filter.
Does that quote hit home for you? That feeling of being completely overwhelmed by the world with no possible way to turn down the volume? So let's start right there. Let's unpack what that experience is all about.
First off, let's just validate this feeling. If you feel like you're literally drowning in data, I want you to know it's not because you're weak. Not at all. It's because you're perceiving a raw, unfiltered, high-definition reality that most people's brains they just miss it.
I want you to picture this. You're in a place that seems totally ordinary to most people. You know, a grocery store, a busy office. But for you, it feels like a high-stakes battlefield of information. Every single detail is just flooding your senses all at once.
See, most people's brains, they just automatically filter these signals out. But you perceive all of it. The constant, high-pitched hum of the refrigerators, the subtle, almost invisible flicker of the overhead lights. You can even feel the tiny emotional shifts in the people standing near you.
And what's the result of this constant data flood? You end up feeling fragile, anxious, and just irritable. And if you've ever found yourself thinking you just need to toughen up, well, you've been missing the entire point.
So, let's do this. Let's dismantle the shame that gets attached to the word sensitivity, and let's reframe it completely. What if this isn't some kind of flaw? What if it's actually a powerful advantage?
Okay, the very first step is to change your vocabulary. You're not weak, you have low latent inhibition. All that means is your brain doesn't just discard information that seems irrelevant to others. You're not fragile, you're a high-resolution sentinel. And you're not too sensitive, you have what scientists call an orchid brain. Yeah, it's highly sensitive to its environment, but it's also capable of incredible, extraordinary growth under the right conditions. This isn't a flaw, you guys, it's just different hardware.
Think of it like this. Most people have an internal filter, right? An intake valve that kind of moderates the flow of all that sensory data. Well, yours is stuck wide open. You're not experiencing a comfortable, low-res blur like everyone else. You are being flooded by the raw, unedited signal of the world around you.
And that brings us to our goal for today. We are going to stop drowning in the data. Starting right now, we are going to learn how to become the architect of our own filter. But how does this even work? On a biological level. Let's get into the science behind this hyper-awareness. Because this isn't just a feeling, okay? It's a structural reality happening inside your brain.
So let's talk about a part of your brain called the thalamus. Just think of it as your brain's grand central station. Its main job is to be the gatekeeper, deciding which sensory signals get a ticket to your conscious awareness and which ones get turned away at the door.
Now, a so-called dandelion brain has a really heavy gate. It just easily filters out all the background noise to save energy. But the orchid brain, that one has a leaky gate. This is a trait known as sensory processing sensitivity, or SPS, and it means your brain processes, well, pretty much everything.
We can even turn this into a kind of equation. When your thalamic gating efficiency is low, the sheer volume of sensory input from the world, combined with your high-fidelity perception, leads directly to sensory saturation. It's like a metabolic overflow happening inside your brain.
And there is a very real, physical cost to this. Your brain, in its effort to process the entire room at once, is burning through crucial resources like dopamine and glucose at up to 5 times the normal rate.
So, that feeling of anxiety you get, it's not some psychological flaw. It's the literal physical heat that's generated by a neural processor running way too much data without a proper cooling system.
All right, now that we understand the problem and the science behind it, let's get to the solution. It's time to build your toolkit. It's time to talk about the gating protocol.
You've probably spent your whole life being told to just ignore it, but that's a dandelion command, and it just doesn't work for your kind of hardware. The true mandate for a sentinel is totally different. You must consciously and manually gate the input.
This requires a huge, fundamental shift in how you frame the problem. You have to move from being a passive victim asking, "Why is it so loud in here?" to being the architect of your own experience, asking, "Okay, how can I narrow the aperture?" Here are 4 steps you can actually take. First, the input zero reboot. For every 2 hours you're in a high-stimulus place, you take 15 minutes of total sensory deprivation. Second, sensory triage. Identify your #1 trigger and use hardware, I'm talking earplugs, sunglasses, to physically block it. Third, attentional anchoring. When you feel overwhelmed, lock your focus onto one single sensation, like the feeling of your feet on the ground. And finally, label the flux. Instead of telling yourself, I'm angry, say, I am saturated. That simple change puts you right back in control.
And here's the most important thing to remember. The world is not going to get any quieter. The real power comes when you realize that you are the one who controls the volume.
Look, your sensitivity is not a weakness. It's high-status data acquisition. It's your advantage. You have the tools now, so it's time to stop drowning and start building. Be the observer of your own experience and start architecting your own peace.